In the early 1990s, Calgary, Alberta was a city on the rise. New developments stretched outward, and downtown stayed busy long after dark. On the surface, it was a city moving confidently into a new decade. But beneath that optimism, a quiet nightmare was unfolding. Between 1990 and 1993, a series of young women disappeared from Calgary streets. Many were last seen downtown, and many were never reported missing right away. And many were found days, weeks, or months later, far from where they vanished. Their deaths were brutal, and their similarities unsettling. More than 30 years later, their killer, or killers, remain unknown. This is the story of Calgary's missing women. Between January 1990 and February 1993, at least 7 women were murdered in and around Calgary. Most were young, most were vulnerable. Several were involved in street-level sex work or lived transient lives. Their bodies were discovered in isolated areas, fields, rural roads, shallow graves, on the outskirts of the city. The media would later refer to the cases as the Calgary prostitute murders. Behind closed doors, investigators questioned whether a single predator was responsible. But at the time, the cases were treated largely as separate investigations. Different methods of killing, limited forensic technology, and victims whose lives were often overlooked. The first known victim was 17-year-old Joanne Shaver. On January 8, 1990, Joanne was last seen alive in downtown Calgary. The following morning, her body was discovered along an undeveloped stretch of Shepherd Road. She had been sexually assaulted and strangled. Joanne was only 17 years old. Her murder would mark the beginning of one of Alberta's darkest unsolved series. In the early morning hours of June 20th, 1991, 20-year-old Shawna Vanderbasch disappeared. Shawna was a hairdresser and aspiring model. Later that same day, her nude body was found beside a rural road southwest of Calgary. The body was found near the Pritis turnoff. The speed with which her body was discovered stood out. But despite the proximity and time, no arrests were made. 16-year-old Jennifer Janz had been trying to turn her life around. On July 12, 1991, she left Rocky View Hospital, promising her family she would be home for supper. She never returned. A month later, on August 13th, Jennifer's body was found buried in a shallow grave. The grave was near Valley Ridge Drive in northwest Calgary. She had died from blunt force trauma. Jennifer was 16. Another 17-year-old would vanish just weeks later. Jennifer Joyaz was a promising student and a ward of the province. She disappeared in August of '91. On October 6th, her body was recovered from a shallow grave near 77th Street and 13th Street Southwest. The location was chilling. It was less than 2 kilometers from where Jennifer Janz had been found. 2 teenage girls, 2 shallow graves, 2 months apart. Keely Louise Pincott was 29 years old. She was a mother of 2, a cocktail waitress. Keely dreamed of becoming a model. She disappeared in May of 1991, but she wasn't reported missing until November. On March 11, 1992, her skeletal remains were discovered northeast of Cochrane. They were found near Highway 1A, buried in a shallow grave. Her cause of death was never publicly released. Tracy Maunder was 26 years old and a mother. She had recently been diagnosed with cancer. She was trying to raise enough money to send her son to live with his grandmother during treatment. Tracy disappeared on October 28, 1992. 3 days later, her beaten and stabbed body was found in a field off Garden Road, southeast. She had been killed quickly but violently. The final known victim was 20-year-old Rebecca Boutilier, born in Cape Breton and raised in Calgary. Rebecca was the mother of a 15-month-old son. She was last seen on February 12, 1993, downtown, possibly entering a blue sedan. Nearly a month later, on March 11th, her partially clothed body was found, east of McKnight Boulevard, northeast. She had been stabbed to death. Her jacket, purse, and boots were never recovered. As the years passed, troubling similarities became harder to ignore. Victims last seen downtown, bodies found in isolated locations, several shallow graves, yet police never officially confirmed a single serial killer. The methods of killing varied. Forensic tools were limited. Many victims lived lives that made timelines difficult to establish. Investigators explored numerous leads. At least one known offender was questioned. Others were considered and eliminated. Some believe multiple killers may have been responsible. Others believe one predator adapted over time. To this day, no theory has been proven. More than 30 years later, these cases remain unsolved. But what lingers most is not just the mystery. It's the reminder of how easily certain lives can be ignored. These women were not statistics. They were daughters, mothers, sisters, friends. They mattered, and their families are still waiting for answers. If you have information related to any of these cases, contact Calgary Police or Crime Stoppers. Because justice delayed does not have to be justice denied. And remembering their names is the first step in making sure they are never forgotten.